So I'm pretty sure almost everybody watching this video is familiar with Techmech's current situation, but if you're not, and you want to be filled in, go watch his video, Ent Ancients on a Killing Spree, and trust me, you will be filled in. Now, I wasn't originally going to even make this video. I felt like what I think has been said, and it's not really my battle to get involved in, but I do feel like there are some things that I feel need to be said. First of all, I do not think that Techmech should be banned. I mean, not just permanently banned, but I don't think he should really be banned at all. And I know that might be a little bit extreme going the other direction because most people believe he deserves at least somewhat of a punishment, and I do agree with that to an extent, but here's the thing. Techmech didn't really do anything, at least not directly. He was in a call with two other people. One of them was RotMG Troller, or Cool Kid 2002, whatever, and the other one was a hacker. The hacker stood in the middle of a bunch of Ents, said TP for Sealand or MadLab or whatever, and most of the people that TP'd died, and they killed a lot of people. Techmech, however, was on the sidelines, and this is where things get a little bit controversial, because after the first Ent Ancient, Techmech buffed the following Ents, knowing full well what would happen. He knew that the other two guys were gonna kill some people, but he didn't really do anything to stop that. A lot of people think that by buffing the Ents, he is helping these people, and I definitely understand that side of it. I completely see why. However, in Techmech's defense, buffing Ents is a part of the game, and he does have the freedom to do that whenever he wants. Were his intentions good or bad? I don't think that that really matters, because the point is, it is a valid excuse. It's kind of like if you miss a day of school because you just didn't want to go, you stayed home, and then you call in saying that you were sick. They don't really have a say in whether or not that's true. You could be lying to them through your teeth, but they have to accept that because it's a valid excuse. Techmech could be doing the same thing. He could be lying whenever he says he just wanted to buff the Ents because he wanted to, but even if it isn't true, it's still a valid reason. You're allowed to buff Ents whenever you want to. Now, the only thing here is that he was in a call with people, so he understood the consequences of the buffing, whereas if he wasn't in a call and he didn't know what was happening, buffing the Ents was completely harmless. So I can't personally say that buffing the Ents is a reason for banning Techmech. I can understand where people are coming from, but I think it's a bit of a stretch. Not clearing the Ents, however, is a different story. We can clearly see in the video that Techmech buffs the Ents, kills the greater nature sprites for the Quiver of Thunder, and then he just kind of sits there and lets the Ents kill people. He doesn't intervene, he doesn't do anything, almost like to say, not my problem. It's kind of like Spider-Man, how he lets the burglar get away and then that guy ends up being the one that kills his uncle. Yeah, okay, it wasn't his problem. Now it is. Now, that's not to say that Techmech is fully responsible for what happened. However, he did indirectly cause this. By not clearing those Ents and by not intervening, he indirectly caused all of these people to die. Sure, maybe he is not fully responsible, heck, maybe he's not even partially responsible, but he sure could have had an influence on what happened, and it's because of that that many people accuse him of being responsible, like Foul. Do you think that Techmech, or anyone for that matter, should be responsible for other people? Since Techmech knew that by not clearing those Ents, people were going to die, is it now his obligation to clear those Ents? Many people will say no, many people will probably say yes as well. Where do I stand on that issue? I'm a bit split myself. That's why I feel like this isn't necessarily an issue of violating the terms of service, but rather a social and moral issue. He could have prevented those people from dying, but he didn't, and because of that, he's getting a lot of hate, a lot of backlash. And I think that's as far as it should have gone. Kabam should have given him a warning saying, hey, if you keep on hanging around these guys and helping them because he technically did, then we're gonna have to ban you. But banning him right out of the gate for not directly doing something, for not being the perpetrator, I think that's jumping the gun. So, no, I don't think that Techmech should be banned. I think that what happened was not right, and I think that the hacker should definitely be banned. And Techmech, at the very most, should get banned for maybe a couple weeks, but other than that, this should be his warning. But at the end of the day, that is only my speculation. That's what I think. Again, this is a very controversial topic. I can certainly see both sides of the argument, and the problem with rules and law is that it tries to set everything in stone, saying this is what you can and can't do, but there will always be a gray area that many people will agree and disagree on, and I think this is a prime example of that happening. Now, before I go, I want to ask you guys one final question. If Techmech wasn't there, would anything have changed? Would any of these events have been prevented or altered in some way? All he did was buff and fail to clear the Ents. if he wasn't there, those ents still would have been buffed, and those ents still would have remained uncleared. As far as I can imagine, anyway, obviously nothing is for sure, but it's that one lone fact that keeps me bouncing back and forth as to which side I'm on. Am I for Techmech or am I against him? Am I somewhere in the middle? Am I none of it? What am I? I don't know. Just when I think I've finally settled on where I stand, I go the opposite extreme, and I can't exactly explain why. But I think what you hear in this video is fairly accurate to what I will continue to think in the future. So, what do you guys think? Should Techmech be banned? Is he fully responsible for what happened? Is he partially responsible? Let me know. Leave a comment down below, and I would love to see what you guys have to say about this. But please, if you do engage in some arguments, let's keep it clean. I don't want to have to intervene down there. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, don't forget to check out the next episode whenever I post it, which will probably be soon. Alright. See ya.